chills. Just straight chills. Like, yo. Straight chills, man. It's been so long. It's been so long. Like, legit, it's been so long since we have seen All Might say, I am here. And in such a heroic moment. Like, yo, bro, this is so good. Like, okay. Let me dive into this, man. I'm excited. I am hyped. When I read this chapter and this is what I saw for the final page, I'm like, is this actually happening? Like, legitimately, is this happening? And holy crap, like this flashback right quick, like this right here, can someone without a quirk be a hero like you? Oh my goodness, that is just straight peak, holy crap, peak flashback. Like, oh my goodness, like, let me dive into it. So, this chapter 386 of My Hero Academia, All Might stands before All for One. This dude right here, look at this man's face. Like, legit, he is ready to kill a man. Like, he is excited. You just see anger on this man's face. It is something else. And it's just like, this is the rematch. This is the rematch that has been set up for a very long time. Years. Literal years. Like 4, 5 years now? It's been a long time. Like, this rematch is finally happening. All Might versus All for One. Or One for All versus All for One. The original, so to speak. And I love this panel, by the way. Like, look very closely. Horikoshi threw in the marking on All Might's body. You know how he had, like, his stomach hurt? You can see the scars and stuff on his body right here. I love that little detail there. Just showcasing that, yes, he is still injured. He's destroyed. Like, his body is just broken down. And then you have, like, a prime, you know, All for One going in up against All Might. It's such an incredible moment to showcase the difference. Because anyone that sees this panel, there's so many different ways you could just view this. It's like, it's very clear who's stronger. Like, you know, All for One. The man literally, he's full power pretty much right now. He's legit full power. He is incredibly ridiculous in terms of strength right now. Literally, the only one that potentially could stop him would be One for All. But it's interesting seeing All for One rush after All Might, because this goes along with just the theme, the core theme of heroes versus villains, but also these two characters, and kind of what really established the entire storyline of My Hero to this very day. This is some really good content, and I want to talk about just what this represents for All Might. I think that seeing All Might step up to the plate, he has a brief conversation, he talks about it and all that. He talks about how, you know, All for One would not be able to ignore him because he's being affected by, you know, Shigaraki and his hatred, but also just their overall connection. What they've been through together, technically constantly going at each other. There's just no way All for One would ignore someone like All Might in front of him, especially with All Might being basically weak. He's quirkless right now. He doesn't have One for All. So when you just see this entire moment, it's incredible, because it's like All Might is going to have to face, you know, All for One with nothing. And when you see him pull out the briefcase, and you just see the mechanical parts just come out of it, and it just starts to, like, form, I'm assuming it's going to wrap around All Might's body. This is obviously a reference to Iron Man. I think anyone that sees this entire moment can definitely get that. That, you know, we've seen technology advancement within My Hero Academia. We have seen, you know, just different gadgets and gears used to be able to combat certain villains, etc. And obviously, we know All Might probably had a lot of help over the years. We know he's had a lot of help through different, let's say, comments from Horikoshi himself within the story of My Hero Academia, but also through the movies as well. We have seen that All Might has had a lot of scientists, etc., you know, engineering department that has helped him. And this suitcase coming out like this is obviously going to be something that's going to allow him to fight probably a little bit better. He's just straight up going to become Iron Man. And I think anyone that sees this entire moment is probably thinking to themselves, it's going to be that whole fight with Thanos versus Iron Man, just those two going at each other. That's exactly what this is probably representing, and it's clear that All Might probably won't walk out of this alive. Now, let's talk about that. I think everyone at this point in time, throughout the journey of My Hero Academia, ever since, honestly, the fight against All for One versus, you know, All Might, we have known that it's very likely All Might would die. before the series reaches the end. And we're finally at that point. We know we're in the final arc of My Hero Academia. We are reaching closer and closer to the conclusion. And because of that, if there's any time now for All Might to actually die, it would be this arc. Now, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, because I know that there's going to be people that say that, and say that, he's not going to die, etc., because obviously, so far from what we've seen from this arc, not a lot of main characters, or no characters, have really died. So, it is easy to assume that All Might won't die, but Horikoshi has piled on the death flags for a very long time. He could obviously say, because there's so many death flags, he's not going to die. But it would be an interesting moment seeing him lay down his life as, once again, picking up the mantle as, I am here, I am the #1 hero, I am the symbol of peace, and literally standing before the demon of terror himself, all for one. It would be such an iconic moment seeing him being able to stall long enough for these two to just basically end up both dead. Like, All Might stalls him for so long that just the time limit on All for One runs out, he dies, and so does All Might. I think that would be a very interesting exchange that showcasing that one or the other cannot exist without each other, because when you think about what heroes and villains are, every hero has a villain, and every villain has a hero. They go at each other. It's like the Joker-Batman situation. There's always that villain. Basically, All for One is All Might's villain, and Shigaraki is, Izuku's villain. And I think that just everything about this sequence of events shows that these two cannot exist without each other. They're always going to be at odds with each other. And it's interesting that, despite obviously the time limit in place that All for One needs to get to Shigaraki, he's going to be going straight after All Might. This man's going to be doing some, heavy, talk no jutsu, so to speak, or just straight up, overall doing exposition and talking and downplaying All Might. I cannot wait to see it. It's going to be incredible. But, straight up, this is some good content here. This chapter freaked me out. I was just in legit shock that this is finally happening, because, I get emotional when I read manga, if I really like it, and as I've said for, a long time now, I still love My Hero Academia, despite its flaws, but this is peak content. This goes back to the origins of, My Hero Academia, of the emotions I felt when I just saw All Might, stand up against All for One for the first time. Just everything about the way this chapter's laid out is just beautiful. One thing I do want to say is that I think overall, this will determine, though, how Horikoshi will handle characters for this arc, though. If All Might doesn't theoretically die, then I'm not going to be concerned about any other character dying. I will be honest there. I'm not going to say I'm going to be upset if he doesn't die. I'd be happy if All Might lives. I'm just saying, if All Might does live this fight, for whatever reason, I do think that, overall, that means that no character's probably going to die. That's my 2 cents on the matter. But, anyways, I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I needed to talk about this, because this was just straight up an incredible chapter. As soon as I saw this panel, I was like, yo, I need to talk about this. But okay. You all be safe, stay healthy. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Thank you so much. Chibi out.